Sharon.
In the south of Ireland, not long ago, was to be found that rarest of rare creatures, an almost perfectly contented woman.
We've been telling stories since caveman times around fires. That's what people do. It's natural. Stories are everywhere, from Shakespeare to advertising. We're telling stories all day long, from the moment we're able to string two words together. They're the fundamental way that people communicate. Dogs sniff each other, and people tell stories. It's the way you get to know someone. Sharon Richards started the Success Stories Club a decade ago. But she hasn't always been a storyteller, and certainly never intended to become one. She never imagined that one day, the power of storytelling would help her overcome illness and then enable her to help many other people. She was born in one of the slum clearance areas of Manchester.
Dad was in prison, my mother's an alcoholic. Pretty chaotic, really. It made me think that you could always get out of it, no matter what it is, no matter what life throws at you, there's always a way out. So sometimes we'd be locked out at night, till midnight, till Dad got home from wherever he was. And so when it first happened, you're stuck outside, because Mum was drunk in the living room. Second time, I thought, well, I'll get a knife, so next time it happens, I can climb over the yard wall and prize my way, which is what I did. And I've always been like that. You know, whatever life throws at you, just work your way around it. Don't make a drama of it. Just get over it. When I was about 6 or 7, I was going back to school after lunch one day, and my mum was taking me. And it suddenly occurred to me that my mum never took me in the morning like the other mums. She never brought me home at night like the other mums. She would take me after lunch, she'd take me back. But she only went as far as the pub, and she'd go in the pub and I'd go off to school. And that's when I suddenly thought, oh, there's something not right here. This is not all the people's families do. I have this really clear memory of thinking, that doesn't matter because I'm cleverer than they are. So I spent the next 20 odd years getting as many qualifications as I could to prove that I was cleverer than everybody, which actually is a pretty stupid thing to do.
Sharon moved to a new council house in Wythenshawe 6 weeks before the end of primary school. And there she met Jackie.
Jackie was I was the really shy one. And I would make the bullets and get Jackie to fire them.
That's our classroom there at the bottom. Last one on the... Do you remember that, Mrs. Williams?
This one, yeah, I remember that.
That was Mrs. Williams' classroom. That was Todd's the baker's. That was Smith's the newspaper.
Fish and chip shop there still?
Yeah, but it used to be the end.
I had a paper round there, did you?
Yeah, I had a paper round with Mr. Smith.
Misery, honestly, what paper?
We were born again Christians at one time, me and Sharon. Give me oil in my lamp, I pray. Hallelujah. And we used to go to, on a Wednesday evening, we used to go to the Nazarene Young Persons Society. And we used to cause havoc. Absolute havoc. I don't know why they had us there.
In those days, you got a full grant. I mean, it was wonderful. If it was now, I wouldn't have gone to university because lots of working class people fear debt. And I would never have borrowed money to go to university. But the fact that they gave me a full grant, it was wonderful. It was brilliant. I loved every second of it. Whether you do social psychology, forensic, clinical, it's a brilliant subject to do. I got a job on a psychiatric ward and eventually moved to an alcoholism treatment unit and met my husband. A few years after that, I was made senior psychologist on a heroin addiction unit. But I also did a bit of voluntary work on the alcoholism unit. And then I became self-employed, had a big private practice. And because I was an organisational psychologist as well, I do things for companies. I was flown to America first class to do some work for a week with a big chemical company, for example. It was interesting, it was well paid, and it was worth doing. You know, it was a job that when you got home at the end of the day, you thought, I've made a difference today. I've made a difference to Mrs A or Mr B or to that team in that organisation. And I really would have done that forever.
Sharon contracted a rare neurological illness that was to change her life.
I couldn't decode the written word. If I saw the cat sat on the mat, I could read the and cat, and so I could read the individual words, but I couldn't put them into a sentence. I spoke with a stammer, and I couldn't recognise faces. I would pick my oldest son George up from nursery and recognise him by his clothes. I couldn't recognise the face. Yeah, it was desperate. It was devastating.
It took Sharon years to recover.
I did physiotherapy for about 8 years, sometimes 3 times a week. I did a 2-year training course to learn to read again. So I was looking over a relaxation course, and there was one going at a local Buddhist centre in town. So I went along, and the brilliant thing they said when I first walked into that room was, "We believe you." Oh, I just burst into tears, because I'd had some people say some horrible things, really horrible things to me. I couldn't help the kids on the equipment in a gym class or do anything with them, so I'd pay someone to do that with me. Took all of my kids to a gym tots class, and this lady was helping them on the equipment, and I was sat at the back. One of the grannies came up to me and said, "Oh, why aren't you doing that?" I said, "Well, I've got a bit of a bad neck." And she went, "Oh, that's a good scam, isn't it?" I thought, "Oh, God." And people have been consistently quite cruel. It's very active, it's very proactive. It's very much about, no matter what happens, being happy, consistently, persistently happy, and encouraging everybody else to be happy, to access that happiness as well. I've never chanted for anything material. I've never chanted to get well. I've chanted no matter what happens. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die. But I've chanted to be happy. So you can be terminally ill, which hopefully I'm not at the minute, and still be happy. And that's the test of the faith. When you look at people I chant with, we're all kind of abnormally happy, no matter what life throws at you. Yeah, it plays a big part.
It was when Sharon met a storyteller that something remarkable happened.
It was just me and my 2 children, and she told us maybe 6 or 7 stories. And even though I couldn't read, I couldn't speak properly, I couldn't remember, I could remember every word of the stories. And I remember really clearly thinking, I can do this. This is a way I can get back into working again. I can do something with this. I coach people in public speaking and storytelling. I do public speaking. I do U3A talks or women's group talks or after dinner talks, that kind of thing. That pays. I've written a couple of books. I sell those. But I'm never going to earn a fortune. I'm never going to earn in a month what I could earn in a day as a psychologist. It's just not going to happen. Being a storyteller is not the kind of job you want if you want to eat or pay a mortgage. Seriously, you earn peanuts. But I'm so happy doing it, so happy. And so as I learned to speak again and learned to read again, I started researching, what is it about stories that is so powerful? How can they go straight into the mind, into the heart, and stay there?
It's like, it feels like I'm a kid again. You know, when you're at school and you're really small, and the teacher's like reading from the book and they're telling you these amazing stories. That's what it's like. So it's just like everything else just disappears, and I'm just focused on what they've got to say. I love it.
It's like when you walk down the street and it's dark and somebody's got the lights on and you can look into somebody else's, world.
Sharon decided to set up a storytelling club. It wouldn't pay her bills, but it was to become one of her proudest achievements.
Because I'd been to a couple of storytelling clubs, and I quite liked them. But a lot of them were telling very traditional tales. Stories of mermaids and kelpies and fairies and witches. That didn't suit me really. I like more edgy stories. I like modern stories. I like dark stories. So I wanted to start a different type of club. The priority is for everyone to just have the best time, the best time imaginable on the night, and for it to be a place where people blossom. I mean, I've seen people literally physically blossom when they've learned to tell stories. And for it to be a place where it's not just a club. I would have hated a club where people go, watch the entertainment and go home. And as a Buddhist, it's all about value creation. You create more value in society. So I wanted a club where it would be like a family, like a genuine community.
The best draft Guinness in Ireland. If you hold it up, the black part is like thick black velvet. My wife died just over 5 years ago, And Sharon was a godsend to me. We used to walk and talk, and she started up her storytelling club, which I joined because it was interesting, but mainly to spend more time with Sharon. I was going through a very black part of my life then, and she was like a shining light to me. And I think I didn't realise what she was doing, and it was just a little bit later that I realised she was indeed a clinical psychologist giving me free treatment. So storytelling in itself has not made a big difference to my life. Meeting the people in it, I've made some close personal friendships.
And I thought, if it's such a basic human thing to do, we can all do it. It's a chance to shine. Because when you're telling a story, it's not, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's, listen to this. This is really interesting. I've got something to tell you. So it's not about, am I doing a great performance? It's, isn't this a lovely story? So it takes so you can shine and entertain people and make people have a really good time, but without being the big I am.
I rather fancied trying, so I went one night just to see, really. But I did take some poems with me, and I did it. I stood up and I actually read, and yeah. It went all right, and I survived. I lived to tell the tale, yeah, so I was quite pleased I'd done it, and I got a sort of little buzz from it, so I went back and did it again, and I really enjoy it, yeah.
I can be quite shy. I would actually call myself quite shy and quite reserved. And one of the biggest hurdles I wanted to get over was to be able to talk in front of, even if it's not necessarily in front of my family, but in friends, if there's like a big dinner, I would never be the one that would talk out loud. I'd just sit there quietly and admire all the other people who are telling stories. And so the difference for me is that I'm more relaxed now. And if I'm in a big group of people, if I've got something to say, I feel more confident to say it. And that's huge for me, absolutely huge.
There's one fair county in Ireland whose name's so glorious and grand.
It's a very good community thing that brings people together, and when I go I get chatting to people. That's one of the attractions.
So it's something I look forward to. You know, and I don't look forward to much in life, to tell you the truth, nowadays. I feel part of something. I think that's what it is. It's feeling part, belonging. It's a belonging.
Well, I actually did one video once, and I used everything that Sharon told me. I taught through a story, and the best part about that was that people actually came to talk to me and said, wow, I could really connect with what you were saying. They started to tell me what happened to them in their past, and I don't think I would have had that before.
Now our tale comes in the dawn of history, and there lived the great Finn MacCool of the Fenians, the Hound of Ulster, a great warrior, and he had with him his son, Oisin.
It's been an overwhelmingly positive effect on my life. As an English teacher by profession, my, if you like, livelihood is based around stories, written stories, spoken stories, telling stories, and that. So just in terms of my lessons, I will frequently use storytelling to demonstrate a point or to engage a class.
The writing and the storytelling has given me a sort of new dimension, really. It's something for myself. For a long time, I haven't really had anything of my own, so this has just given me a little bit of something for myself. And I've met a lot of nice people.
Things were going well for Sharon in her new career as storyteller. She just published her first children's book. The Success Stories Club was attracting talented storytellers from all over the Northwest. She was nominated for Cheshire Woman of the Year. Her training business was going well, and she was in demand as a speaker. It seemed that things had finally settled down, until she suddenly developed a heart condition, and soon after found out that she had breast cancer.
I had to stop the storytelling club for 5 months because the chemotherapy was just brutal.
But she is fantastic, you know, the way she went through that treatment, the way she went through the chemo, the radiotherapy, you know, she was just I know some days she was really, really poorly and she couldn't get out of bed. But when you spoke to her, when you came to see her, you wouldn't think, you know, that she was so poorly. She was always very, very positive. She's a very positive person.
But she's got this tremendous, as you spotted, ability to climb out of the abyss and bubble up again. But I think part of it is her Buddhism, where she tries to be happy each day.
When I was well enough to start up again, I thought we'd have to start from scratch with just a handful of people, which is how many clubs kind of limp along, storytelling clubs, ticking along with just a few people turning up each month. But when we opened the doors, 30-odd people arrived as if we'd never stopped.
We have Lynn. And Colin.
Do a lot of charity work, a lot of voluntary work, take over a cafe and tell stories to 30, 40 people living with cancer. Or I'll do the Ladies' Day at a cancer centre. Why not? Why wouldn't you kind of spread the word and, you know, send a bit of sunlight to people when you can? It costs nothing. And people love it.
I have cancer too, and I found all these things have been so helpful, particularly the walking and storytelling. You know, it's lovely to be able to talk about things to somebody that's not going to upset.
Macmillan, we do what we call ourselves the wobbly walkers. So we go out once a week. It's instant friendship. People don't talk about the cancer. They can if they want to, but 9 times out of 10 they don't. And from that, loads of people have come to the storytelling. I've then gone out and done talks at their organisations for them free of charge. It's just another way of like networking and just being around nice people. I'm disappointed that I've been ill since I was 42. It's not great. But given it is as it is, still happy. Whether it's a day or 50 years, just enjoy it.
We are called the Success Story Club. Who'd have thought? Well, would you know it? After years of being just a mum, now I'm being named a poet. And today we're being interviewed by a real-life camera crew. Well, move along, Dame Judi Dench. Let the storytellers through.